Road at Arkansas, the Alabama Crimson Tide glad to be at home in Tuscaloosa with a great crowd on hand to welcome in #1 ranked South Carolina. Hello again, everybody. This is Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you courtside here at Coleman Coliseum for Alabama against South Carolina. And that's today's matchup presented by Golden Flake, the official potato chip of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama picking up a much-needed victory against the Arkansas Razorbacks on Thursday thanks to a Hanna-Barbera three-pointer with only 8 seconds to go. 69-66 was the final as Alabama improves to 5-3 in the SEC and 16-5 overall this season. South Carolina, Dawn Staley's team, #1 in the nation. Of course, the defending national champion. They are 8-0 so far in the SEC. The last time they played was last Sunday as well against Arkansas. Picked up a dominating 92-46 win over the Razorbacks, a game where they out-rebounded Arkansas 74-17 in that matchup. So once again, this is a very strong South Carolina team led by Dawn Staley, who is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, and she is wearing a green Philadelphia Eagles jersey under her black jacket for today's matchup. So, you know, her head is certainly with the Crimson Tide and in this matchup against Alabama, but her heart with her Philadelphia Eagles on this NFC Championship Sunday. But tonight's matchup, again, presented by Golden Flake, Alabama against South Carolina. When we come back, we'll take a look at the starting lineups, and we'll have the tip-off between the Gamecocks and the Crimson Tide. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Starting lineups are brought to you by your local Alabama Chick-fil-A restaurant. Chick-fil-A app is here to help you savor every second of the game. With the app, you can score points towards rewards with each purchase. Just order ahead and score before the game even starts. Roll Tide with Chick-fil-A. Before we take a look at the starting five for the Gamecocks and the Crimson Tide, let's first pause 10 seconds for station ID. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Welcome back to Coleman Coliseum on the campus of the University of Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. This is Roger Hoover with you courtside. Our game being produced by Cameron Staley and Jerry Kelly back at our Learfield studios. If you're watching on our live stream on our YouTube and Twitter channels, that is being produced by Ethan Carabin. Just off camera. Okay, he puts his hands in the shot. Way to go, Ethan Carabin. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. First for visiting South Carolina, the defending national champion led by Dawn Staley, off to a 20-0 start, 8-0 in the SEC. Starting for the Gamecocks at guard, a 5'9 senior from Toledo, Ohio, Zaya Cook, leading this team by averaging 15 points per game. At forward, a 6'5 senior from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Aaliyah Boston. Boston, the top rebounder at 9.7 per game for Carolina, the reigning National Player of the Year the last 2 years, one of the best in college basketball. At forward, a 6'2 grad student from Roane, Georgia, Victoria Saxton. Bree Beal is at guard, a 6'1 senior from Rock Island, Illinois. And rounding out the starting lineup is at guard, a 5'9 grad student from Warren, Michigan, the Georgia Tech transfer, Kiera Fletcher. Again, Don Staley, the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks, has led Carolina to a pair of national championships, including last season. Now look at the Alabama Crimson Tide, led by head coach Christy Curry. Overall, 15-5 this season. 16-5, now 5-3 in the SEC. Starting for the Crimson Tide, at guard, a 6-foot junior from Birmingham, Sarah Ashley Barker. Also starting at point guard, a 5'6 grad student from Homewood, Hannah Barber, hit the game-winning three at Arkansas on Thursday. At guard, a 5'9 grad student from Manchester, Georgia, Brittany Davis, top scorer, averaging 17.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per contest. And then the center is a 6'4 grad student, Jada Rice. Rice leading the team by averaging 52 blocks, or having 52 blocks this season. That is second most in the SEC. And then at forward, a 6'6 junior from East Lansing, Michigan, Aaliyah Nye. Nye averaging 7 points per game, one of the top three-point shooters in the SEC. Alabama led by head coach Christy Curry. This is her 10th season at the Capstone. She's assisted by Kelly Curry, Denise Constantine, and Robin Tubner. The athletic trainer is Alicia Grigsby. Strength and conditioning coach Ashley Beaver. Director of operations Brian Johnson. Director of video operations Bryce Dillard. Sports information Stephanie Withy. Officials for today, Brian Hall along with Natasha Kamey and Eric Koch. They're wearing the gray shirts with white pinstripes, black shoulders, black pants for all the officials. Black road jerseys for South Carolina with white numerals in the front and back, trimmed in garnet. Alabama in the home white uniforms. The ball is tipped and away we go. Basketball with South Carolina as the Gamecocks will play on the right goal to start this game. Alabama on the left. We're just getting going in the first of 4 10-minute quarters in women's basketball. Cook at the top of the key. Whistles a pass on the left wing to Fletcher, and then the left corner to Beal. Back to the top of the key with Fletcher. Now Cook on the right wing, 10 on the shot clock. Cook starts to drive in against Aaliyah Nye from the baseline. Her jumper too strong. Rebound picked up left baseline by Hannah Barber. First possession for the Crimson Tide. Barber, a handoff on the right wing to Davis. Run the screen. She dribbles to the free throw line, spins it back to the top of the key to Barber. Head fake by her. Barber surges down the right side of the lane and then traveled with the basketball on the right block, and that will give the ball back to South Carolina thanks to the first turnover of the game by Alabama. Gamecock basketball, we're scoreless 40 seconds into this first quarter. Fletcher surfs to the right wing, gets a screen by Boston, goes around her to the left. Now at the free throw line finds Beal on the left wing. Beal, after thinking about a three-pointer, dribbles to the top of the key, passes to Fletcher. Fletcher to Boston outside the right side of the lane, back to the top of the key. Fletcher now to Beal in the left corner. Beal puts up a contested three-pointer. That's off the iron, no good. Boston with the O board, and the right side layup good by Aaliyah Boston, the two-time reigning National Player of the Year. 2-0 Gamecocks, 8:50 left to go in this first quarter. Barber over the timeline left, quick handoff on the left wing to Nye. She dribbles to the right hand at the top of the key, flips it over to Davis, then back to Nye. Nye, a couple steps to the left wing, now at the top of the key, quick handoff to Davis. Davis to the top of the key, inside the arc, spins around the free throw line, driving left side, throws it up, banks it home. Alabama's tied this game at 2 thanks to Brittany Davis. Gamecocks with the basketball, even at 2, 8:25 left to go in the first quarter. Fletcher dribbling at the top of the key. A couple steps to the right side, now on the right wing. Passes to Cook on the left wing. Cook down low to Boston, right block, surrounded by 3 defenders, throws it up. It kicks off the iron, no good. Rebound tapped to the top of the key, right to Zaya Cook. Cook then recycles to Fletcher, back to Cook left wing. A three-pointer rattles home, and now it's a 5-2 lead for South Carolina against Alabama. Crimson Tide back with the basketball. Hannah Barber dribbles to the right front court, surveys the scene. Barber at the top of the key, finds Nye. Nye right side lane, spins around, pull-up jumper up, and good. Alabama's made it a one-point game thanks to Aaliyah Nye. Basketball back to the Gamecocks. Fletcher over the timeline left, finding Cook in the left wing. Now top of the key to Fletcher. Then Boston pulled away from the basket. Boston back and forth passes with Beal. Beal top of the key goes to Saxton, left block. Surrounded by 2 defenders, Saxton nearly lost control of the ball. Now a reach-in foul will be called against Crimson Tide, trying to go for the steal, and that foul will be called against Aaliyah Nye. That'll be her first foul and the first team foul on the Crimson Tide. 7:29 left to go in this first quarter. It's Carolina with a 5-4 lead against the Crimson Tide. Left baseline, Fletcher trying to trigger the inbounds pass. Brittany Davis jumping up and down trying to guard that. Inbounds came into Boston. Then to Beal on the right wing. Now she switches top of the key to Fletcher. Pull-up jumper, swirls off the iron, no good. Rebound by Saxton, right block, and a right side layup good, and a foul called against the Crimson Tide. Chance at a three-point play coming up. Another foul called against Aaliyah Nye. That'll be the second foul on Nye. Second team fouls. The Gamecocks go in front by a 7-4 score. That will send Victoria Saxton to the free throw line. 70% free throw shooter. Alabama goes to its bench. Nye picking up 2 fouls. Loyal McQueen checks in. 7:20 to go in this first quarter. It is a 7-4 lead for South Carolina against Alabama. Saxton with the and one is good. Now 8-4 Gamecocks. 7:19 left to go in this first quarter. Basketball back with the Crimson Tide. Brittany Davis from the right corner to the right wing. Now cuts inside the arc to the right baseline. Davis around a screen by Rice, passes to the left side, Barber on the left wing. Barber shakes free her defender, goes into the Crimson paint, spins for help, looks, passes to McQueen, free throw line. McQueen feeling the pressure, passes to Rice. Rice from the right block to the right side of the lane, working against Boston, throws it up, throws it in. Jada Rice against one of the best in the nation, puts Alabama to within 2 points at 8-6. Basketball back to South Carolina. Saxton passing top of the key to Cook. Cook. Pull-up jumper, right elbow, rattles off the iron, no good, and the rebound on the left block by Jada Rice. Here comes Alabama. Tide trailing by 2 with 6.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Barber at the top of the key. Barber, left elbow, back to the top of the key to Davis. Davis guarded closely by Bree Beal. Dribbles to the right, now cuts inside. Spins around the SEC logo. Spins again, left side, throws it up. No good on the shot, but she draws the foul. Free throws coming up for Alabama's Brittany Davis. Foul against Bree Beal. That'll be the first on her and the first team foul against South Carolina. 6:21 left to go in this first quarter from Tuscaloosa. It's Alabama trailing 8-6. Davis to the line to shoot 2, a 68% free throw shooter. First one's good, nothing but net. 8-7 the score. One more coming up for Davis to try and tie the game. Davis puts it up and in. A 2-for-2 trip. Alabama's tied this game at 8. Basketball back to the Gamecocks with 6:19 remaining in this first quarter. Cook, after going over the timeline left, now works in between the rings, angles to the right wing. Cook, after feeling some pressure, boomerangs a pass to the top of the key to Fletcher. Fletcher to Beal on the left wing. Beal looks low, cross-court pass goes to the right wing. Fletcher, top of the key to Cook, 8 on the shot clock. Cook floats it to the free throw line to Boston. Boston, right elbow jumper, over Rice is good. Nothing but net for Aaliyah Boston to make it 10-8 South Carolina. 5:50 left to go in the first quarter. Basketball back to Alabama with McQueen over the right wing. McQueen on the right front court, passes top of the key to Rice. Quick handoff back to McQueen. McQueen accelerates down the left side lane, spins around, underhand layup up is short, rebound tipped and controlled by South Carolina's Cook. Basketball to the Gamecocks. Cook over the timeline left, now at the top of the key. Cook to Fletcher. Left baseline jumper, swirls off the iron, no good. And the rebound picked up in transition by Brittany Davis. Tied down 2. Davis driving, left side layup up, no good. Rice there for the offensive rebound, left her layup short. Boston claims the miss, and the basketball to South Carolina. Fletcher on the left side, spins around. Boston top of the key to Beal on the right wing. Back to Boston, quick handoff to Beal. Free throw line jumper is up, short, and the rebound tipped right to Brittany Davis. Fast break chance for Alabama, down 2. Davis driving, left side layup up, got it. Banked it in off the square. Alabama's tied this game at 10. Just under the 5-minute mark. Next dead ball will be immediate timeout. Gamecocks with the basketball now even at 10 with Alabama. 4:47 left to go in this first quarter. Top of the key, Fletcher with the basketball. Pounding the left-handed dribble, she tokes the rock to the left wing. Passes in the left corner to Beal. Beal looks low, nothing there, to Fletcher, then to Boston, outside left side lane. Fletcher, back to Beal, back to Boston, left block. Boston, after beating the double team, back to Beal, left wing 3 is short, and the rebound by Sarah Ashley Barker in the Crimson paint. Basketball to the Crimson Tide, trying to take the lead against number 1 South Carolina. Davis, top of the key, 3, short, and the rebound fought for, and a foul is called. You had 2 players tangled up, Rice along with Fletcher, and a foul is going to be called on the floor, and this foul will be called against Alabama. No, South Carolina's Kira Fletcher. So that'll be the first foul on Fletcher, and that'll take us to a timeout on the floor. Alabama playing well early against South Carolina. 4:17 left to go in this first quarter. It's the Crimson Tide and the Gamecocks tied at 10. Back with more in just a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Hoover. It's Alabama and South Carolina tied at 10, and a great moment here ahead of National Girls and Women in Sports Day coming up this week. You have the Alabama soccer team, swimming and diving, volleyball, rowing, all being recognized here on the floor. So huge congratulations to those young ladies, and now they're going to have the T-shirt toss to a huge crowd that's on hand. You have over 30 high school teams that are here watching Crimson Tide women's basketball, and we certainly thank them for being here. Special thank you to Alabama One Credit Union, proud supporter as well of Crimson Tide Women's Athletics. And again, here in full force today on National Girls and Women's in Sports Day as we start to recognize all the contributions, 50th anniversary as well of Title IX. And they get to see what's been a good game so far. Alabama off to a 10-10 start with South Carolina. The Crimson Tide even right now in the rebounding total. That's big, not only even in points, but same number of rebounds with South Carolina. So you love seeing that, both sides at 6. Alabama 4 of 8 shooting so far. Crimson Tide hurt by only 1 turnover to this point. The Gamecocks, meanwhile, 4 of 12 shooting, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. Alabama has had a misfire on its only 3-point attempt so far. That was by Brittany Davis. But Davis leads away with 6 of Alabama's 10 points. Meanwhile, South Carolina led by 4 points from Boston, 3 each by Cook and Saxton. Out of timeout, the foul was called on Fletcher before we went to break, so it will be Crimson Tide basketball with Hannah Barber on the right baseline to inbound the basketball. Looking, waiting, triggers it in finally to Ryan Cobbins, driving in right side, layup up, no good, and the rebound will be tapped out of play by Alabama's Cobbins. Fletcher was right there, but the basketball will go back to the Gamecocks. Saxton will inbound the basketball to Cook. Cook coming off 24 points last time out against Arkansas. Basketball now with Fletcher as she gets Carolina organized. To Beal on the right wing, back top of the key to Saxton. Around the perimeter all the way to Cook in the left corner. Cook starting to drive left baseline. Looks for a pass, but it's intercepted by Sarah Ashley Barker. Barker weaving through traffic, swings it out to McQueen. McQueen on the right elbow, the ball poked, loose. It's picked up by Cobbins right wing. Cobbins attacks the Crimson paint. Spins around Boston, tries to go up for a shot. Boston knocks it away, right to Fletcher, and the basketball to South Carolina. Carolina with Fletcher. The left elbow, pull-up jumper, kicks off the back iron, no good, and the rebound kicks back to Fletcher. Barker nearly had it back for the Crimson Tide. Carolina working around the perimeter. Boston top of the key, finding Fletcher inside the arc left corner. Left wing back to Cook. 9 on the shot clock. Cook dribbling at the free throw line. Feels the pressure, has a pass to Boston. Left side lane jumper is good. Carolina back in front, 12-10. Aaliyah Boston now with 6 points. 3:10 remaining in this first quarter. Basketball back to the Crimson Tide. Loyal McQueen over the timeline left. McQueen dribbles at the top of the key around 2 screens, passes back to Barber. Top of the key, a 3, off the iron to the left, and the rebound picked up by Ryan Cobbins. Cobbins on the right side switches back to Loyal McQueen. 15 dwindling down on the shot clock. Now McQueen starts to attack from the right side to the rim. Lays it up. No good on the shot. Boston taps the rebound right to Barker. Barker drives in. Right side layup. Swirls in. Sarah Ashley Barker puts it home to make it a 12-12 score in Tuscaloosa. Basketball back to the Gamecocks. 2.5 minutes remaining in this first quarter. Getting quite a fight from the Crimson Tide. Boston into the paint and a whistle blown and a foul called against Alabama on the floor. And that'll go against Ryan Cobbins. First on her, 3rd team foul against Alabama. 2:28 remaining in this first quarter. Alabama and South Carolina tied at 12. Gamecocks will take out Fletcher along with Saxton and Beal. New Gamecocks on the floor, including Letitia Amee here, as well as Raven Johnson, and bounce pass to Boston. Boston looks for some help, finds it back with Johnson. Also Cardozo in for the first time. Camila Cardozo. 10 on the shot clock for Carolina. Cook on the left wing to Boston, top of the key. Amee here, back to Boston. Out to Cook, left wing contested. 3 is up and good. Barber had the contest, but Cook puts it home to make it 15-12 South Carolina. Basketball with Crimson Tide, inbounded quickly from Barker to McQueen despite good contact and pressure on the ball by Raven Johnson. Over the timeline, Loyal McQueen working with the basketball. McQueen surveys the scene. Now starts to move to the free throw line. Lost control of the ball there. It's picked up by Boston in transition to Johnson. Johnson driving, right side layup, no good. Contact from Sarah Ashley Barker, and a foul will be called against the Crimson Tide, as that'll be the first foul on Barker. And with that, that is 14 fouls on the Crimson Tide. Minute 42 remaining in this first quarter. South Carolina in front 15-12 over Alabama. And with that, Barker will go out. Also, Barber will go out. Carly Weathers in for the first time today. Well, free throws coming up for Raven Johnson, the redshirt freshman out of Atlanta, Georgia's Westlake High School. 2 of 4 on the year at the line. Buries the first one here to make it 16-12 South Carolina. One more coming up for Johnson. Right now, she's first in the SEC, 9th in the nation, at 2.67 assist-to-turnover ratio. Getting the basketball back from Brian Hall. She's ready, puts it up, and in. 17-12 South Carolina. So now the Crimson Tide trailing by 5, a minute 40 remaining in this first quarter. Davis over the middle of the timeline for the Crimson Tide. Davis at the top of the key, driving down the right side, underhand layup up, no good, and a foul is called as Amihir and Davis got tangled up. Amihir will be called for the foul. That'll be her first. And Amihir helped to her feet by her teammates. Third team foul against the Gamecocks. Brittany Davis to the free throw line for the Crimson Tide. Davis already a perfect 2 of 2 today. That's been Alabama's only trip to the charity stripe. 2 shots coming up for Davis. Alabama trailing by 5. First one up. Off the back iron, no good. One more coming up for the lefty. Puts it up. And that one rattles out, and the rebound picked up by Cardozo on the left side of the lane. 0 for 2 trip for Brittany Davis. Basketball back to the Gamecocks, up by 5. Johnson, left elbow pull-up jumper. Off the iron, no good. A fight for the rebound, won by Jada Rice on the left block. Rice, despite pressure from Johnson, gives the basketball to McQueen. Basketball with the Tide. McQueen over the timeline right. Minute 15 left to go in this first quarter. McQueen accelerates down the left side of the lane. Throws up a shot, no good, but a foul called against Cardozo. Camila Cardozo called for her first foul, 4th team foul on the Gamecocks. Now free throws coming up for the Georgia Tech transfer, Loyal McQueen. Alabama trailing 17-12. 1 minute, 11 seconds left to go in this first quarter. McQueen, 16 of 20 in the line in SEC play. First one's good. 17-13, Alabama down 4. One more for Loyal McQueen. Puts it up. And that rattles out, no good. Hit the iron on the right side first before the back. Basketball to South Carolina. Johnson in between the rings, gets the Gamecocks organized on a pass. Nearly went out of play off of me here. Top of the key, Cardozo. Then to Bree Hall on the left wing to Boston, top of the key. Boston all the way to Johnson. Johnson from the right wing to Cardozo. Back to the right wing, Johnson. Top of the key, Amihir drives in with 10 on the shot clock. Finding Cardozo right block. Right side layup, no good. Fight for the rebound, won by Alabama. In transition, Brittany Davis. Davis over the timeline left. Alabama with the ball, down by 4. Davis, top of the key, starts to drive in. Works it back top of the key to Cobbins. Cobbins makes a couple of moves against Boston. Out in the right corner to Davis. Davis to the right wing. Now starts to move in after getting around the screen, puts up a jumper that snaps the net. Brittany Davis gets Alabama within 2. It's 17-15 with 20 seconds to go. Shot clock turned off. Basketball with the Gamecocks with 15 seconds left as Johnson calls it a play with her left hand, pounds the right-handed dribble. Johnson at the top of the key. Johnson to Boston inside the arc. To Amihir on the left wing. 4 left on the clock. Amihir at the free throw line. Throws up a shot, no good, and the first quarter has come to a close. Alabama hanging tough with the nation's top-ranked team. At the end of the first 10 minutes, it's a score of South Carolina 17 and Alabama 15. Back for the start of the second quarter next. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfields. Carolina 17, Alabama 15. We get ready to start the second quarter here in Tuscaloosa. Fans, you can stay up to date with the latest on the Crimson Tide by tuning into Tide TV This Week. You can check your local listings for TV times in your area. And remember, Tide TV This Week is also on demand on RollTide.com and the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel. Tide TV This Week, hosted by Kenzie Hughes. Well, hopefully she'll have a win against South Carolina to talk about on the show this week. Alabama off to a good start against the Gamecocks, only down by 2, 17-15. Taking a look at the numbers from the first quarter of play, Alabama shot the basketball well, 43%, 6 of 14 from the floor. Alabama was 0 of 2 from beyond the arc, so Crimson Tide getting some offense without three-pointers. That's a good sign early for a team that is still the best in the SEC in three-point percentage field goal, or three-point percentage field goal. 38% on the percentage there. And then the Crimson Tide, of course, are tops in the SEC as well in three-pointers made per game at 8.9. They're within 2 of South Carolina without making a 3 so far. So, again, that's a good sign. Alabama 3 of 6 at the free throw line. Tide led by Brittany Davis, 8 of Alabama's 15 points. And then South Carolina led by both Cook and Boston with 6 points each, combining for 12 of the 17 points for South Carolina. 17-15 the score as we get ready to start the second quarter from Tuscaloosa. On the floor for Alabama will be Ryan Cobbins along with Carly Weathers, Brittany Davis, Janet Cunningham, and Loyal McQueen. Cobbins will get set for the inbounds pass for the Crimson Tide. Meanwhile, it's Boston, Cardozo, Mihir, Hall, and Johnson on the floor for the Gamecocks. Cobbins inbounds the basketball in the backcourt to McQueen. We're back underway in the second quarter. Alabama with the ball down 2. McQueen left wing flips the basketball to Weathers. Weathers, freshman, dribbling at the top of the key. A bounce pass to Davis. Davis around the screen by Cunningham. Davis to the right block. Now top of the key, Weathers. Head fake by her. Weathers bounce pass to Cunningham. Right baseline jumper. In and out, no good. Cardozo the rebound on the Crimson paint. And the basketball to South Carolina. Gamecocks with Johnson over the timeline left. Quickly to Ami here. Left side lane. Driving in. Right side layup. Up. No good. A fight for the rebound. Won by Boston. Left block. And a left side layup good. 19-15. Boston, one of the best rebounders in the nation, especially on the offensive end. That contributes to a lot of her scoring. Crimson Tide with the ball down by 4. Davis driving in against Cardozo, slams on the brakes, now cuts back in the Crimson paint. Left side layup up, too strong. Rebound tapped by Cunningham, out of play, and last touch by Cunningham, and the basketball to the Gamecocks. Crimson Tide will sub in Sarah Ashley Barker. She replaces Ryan Cobbins. 9:09 left to go in the second quarter. It's South Carolina 19, Alabama 15. Cardozo inbounds the basketball to Johnson and works the ball over the timeline left. Johnson to Ami here, out to Hall, left wing, loads up a 3, off the iron, no good. Fight for the rebound, Cardozo wins it, and a right side layup, no good there. Rebound picked up by Cardozo, works it back to Hall, and now South Carolina resets. Cardozo stands at a very tall 6'7". Ami here to Boston, top of the key. Hall open from the left wing, thought about a 3, instead back to Boston. 8 in the shot clock. Ami here to Cardozo, right block, leaves her layup short. Rebound snatched out of the air by Brittany Davis. Fast break chance for the Tide. Davis into the paints. Needs some help, finds it in Barker. Left wing 3 on the way. Too strong, and the rebound is picked up by Boston for a moment, then loose on the floor. Diving for it, Brittany Davis gives the ball to Cunningham. Ball stays alive with Alabama. McQueen on the right wing. McQueen to the free throw line, into the paint, left side layup up, no good, and the rebound by Boston in the Crimson paint, and the basketball to South Carolina. Johnson running and gunning, swings it out to Hall, left corner 3 on the way, got it. Three-pointer by Bree Hall makes it South Carolina 22, Alabama 15. Gamecocks off to a 5-0 start in the first 2 minutes of play in the second quarter. McQueen over the timeline right, passes to Weathers, top of the key, then to McQueen. McQueen dances inside the arc, puts up a jumper that's no good, and the rebound controlled by Johnson. Johnson passes over the timeline, intercepted right to Cunningham. She was trying to find Boston in transition. Basketball at the Tide. Davis loads up a 3. Off the back iron, no good, but the rebound claimed by Davis at the top of the key. Davis to Weathers, to Barker, top of the key. Barker working against Hall, driving in right side, throws up a shot, no good, but she drew contact and a foul, and free throws coming up for Sarah Ashley Barker. Bree Hall called for her first foul. First team foul against either side in the second quarter. First on the Gamecocks. Alabama takes out Weathers along with Cunningham and McQueen. Barber back in along with Rice and Nye. Sarah Ashley Barker to the free throw line. 68% shooter on the year at the line. 14 of 19 in SEC play. First one on the way. Got it. 22-16. First point for Alabama in this second quarter. One more for Barker. Got it. 22-17. Alabama to within 5 just after the Gamecocks held their largest lead of the game at 7. South Carolina with Cook over the timeline right. Cook looks low, instead passes high to Cardozo. Quick handoff back to Cook. Now to Johnson in the left front court. Backing up a few steps, now working top of the key. Passes in the right corner to Hall, all the way around the perimeter to Cook on the left wing. 8 on the shot clock. A pass in the paint is tipped, but taken by Watkins. Throws up a shot, no good. Rebound taken out of the air by Jada Rice with 2 hands. Basketball back to Alabama. Barber, handoff to Davis. Davis at the top of the key, thought about stepping back. Instead, spins around top of the key, looks for help in Nye on the right wing. Nye thought about a 3, instead dribbles to the top of the key. Back to Davis on the right wing, guarded by Cardozo at 6'7". Davis, a step in the arc, pull-up jumper off the iron, no good, and the rebound by Johnson in the paint. Basketball to South Carolina. Johnson pushing tempo, finding Hall on the left side. Hall back to Johnson, top of the key. Johnson will back up and reset for a few moments. Gamecocks up by 5, working with the ball. 6:24 left to go in this second quarter. Johnson passing to Cook in the left corner, guarded by Barker. Right to Cardozo, left block. Her left side layup, no good, but there was contact. Foul called against Alabama. That'll be against Aaliyah Nye, who has now picked up 3 fouls in this first half, and the third picked up with 6:17 to go in the second quarter. Nye will go out, and Loyal McQueen back in for the Crimson Tide. A lot of encouragement for Nye from Christy Curry and the Crimson Tide coaches as she makes her way back to the bench. Cardozo in the line, first one up. In and out, no good. Cardozo only a 62% free throw shooter. She was the ACC Freshman of the Year at Syracuse in 2020 to 2021 before joining the Gamecocks. Second one up, good. 23-17, South Carolina leads by 6. Alabama with the ball. Davis on the right wing, backs it up to McQueen, right front court. Crimson Tide ball trailing by 6. Just over 6 minutes to go before halftime. McQueen to the free throw line, back to the top of the key to Davis. Davis to Rice, outside the right side lane. Back to McQueen, top of the key. Then to Barker on the left wing, 10 on the shot clock. Barker skewers down the right side of the lane, throws up a shot. No good on the shot, but she drew the foul. And free throws coming up for Sarah Ashley Barker. Ashley Watkins called for the foul. That's the first on the freshman from Columbia. Second team foul against the Gamecocks. Only 1 team foul so far in Alabama in this second quarter. South Carolina 23, Alabama 17 with 5:54 remaining. Barker, first free throw good. In the second quarter, from a good crowd on this Sunday, 23-18. One more for Barker. Up. And that rattles out, and the rebound pulled in by Watkins in the Crimson paint. Basketball to South Carolina. Gamecocks with Johnson to Hall on the right wing, back to Johnson. A couple steps to the right side, now moving in between the rings, standing in the Mississippi border on the state outline at mid-floor here at Coleman. Johnson, after drifting back and forth right to left, passes on the left wing to Cook. Cook guarded by Barber, drives to the paint, throws up a wild shot, no good. Fight for the rebound, won by Watkins, and then a right side layup, good. Watkins standing at 6'3", able to pull in that board and get the right side layup. 25-18, Alabama down 7. McQueen backing up a few steps on the left wing, around the screen, left side lane, SEC logo, finds Barker, top of the key. Loads up a 3, bottom. Sarah Ashley Barker with a 3-pointer that makes it a 4-point game at 25-21. Just over 5 minutes to go before halftime. Critical 3-pointer made by Barker, the first for Alabama today. Crimson Tide back on defense, trailing by 4. Cook at the top of the key. Couple steps to the left side. Now inside the arc, long jumper is up. Clangs off the back iron, no good, and the rebound picked up by Watkins. Watkins out to Hall, outside the left side lane. A mid-range jumper is good to make it 27-21 South Carolina. Basketball back to the Crimson Tide. Down by 6 with 4:36 remaining before halftime. Pass to the top of the key from McQueen to Barker. Barker drives down the right side lane. Layup is up and good. Sarah Ashley Barker beat everybody to the rim to make it 27-23. Basketball with the Gamecocks. 4:20 remaining before halftime. South Carolina 27, Alabama 23. Johnson to Cardozo, right block. Layup no good. Foul on Barker, and that will take us to a timeout on the floor. 4 minutes, 16 seconds left to go in the second quarter. It's a score of number 1 South Carolina 27 and Alabama 23. Back for the rest of the first half next. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Back in Tuscaloosa, 4:16 left to go in the second quarter. It's South Carolina 27 and Alabama 23. Tide fans, you can watch Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR on Thursday afternoons at 2 p.m. on all CTSN social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Join us for the latest on Alabama athletics. This past week, had a great conversation with Director of Athletics Greg Kern, as well as some baseball talk with Brad Bohannon with our Hey Coach replay, and we'll talk more about what's coming up tomorrow on Hey Coach coming up. And again, hope you'll make plans to join us Thursday afternoon on all CTSN social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. NASCAR season is almost back. They have the Clash at the Coliseum next week out in LA. Right now we're talking basketball. The Crimson Tide only trailing by 4 against South Carolina as the Gamecocks led by 2 at the end of the first quarter, and then so far in the second quarter, South Carolina outscoring Alabama 10-8 so far. It's the Crimson Tide hanging tough with South Carolina on the boards, 21-16. In the last game for South Carolina, out-rebounded Arkansas 74-17. And of course, Alabama just took on the Arkansas Razorbacks, and the Crimson Tide were out-rebounded Arkansas by only 1 board in that matchup. So this gives you an idea how dominant this Carolina team can play at times. And the last 5 games, they've been averaging 35 points off the bench. This certainly looks like one of Dawn Staley's better teams. Already a couple of national championships in her tenure at South Carolina, was ranked number 1 and was the favorite going into the NCAA tournament in 2020 before the COVID-19 pandemic cut that season short. We did not have an NCAA tournament, but Carolina off to an 8-0 start in the SEC play. They last played last Sunday in that game against Arkansas, so they're coming off their open date as well. Meanwhile, Alabama was on the road Thursday at Arkansas and claimed that impressive 69-66 win over the Razorbacks. Returning to the floor, it's South Carolina with Cook along with Johnson, as well as Saxton and Cardozo, who's at the line, and then Ami here, also on the floor for South Carolina. Alabama with McQueen, Barker, Rice, Davis, and Barber. It's only Aaliyah Nye, the only starter not on the floor, as Cardozo's first free throw is good. 28-23, Carolina by 5. One more for Cardozo. Off the iron, no good, and the rebound on the right side in transition by Brittany Davis. Basketball, the Crimson Tide with Davis on the left wing. Spins around there, a couple steps to the left side. Looking for Rice, goes to her against Cardozo. Left side lane, spins around the Crimson paint. Right side underhand layup blocked at a play with Cardozo's left hand. Ball will stay with Alabama. Aaliyah Boston checks in, replacing Cardozo. 4:01 left to go before halftime. Alabama will have 16 seconds to work with on the shot clock. Trailing by 5 at 28-23. Barber set for the inbounds pass on the left baseline. Looking And floats it into Barber on the left wing. Barker dribble to the right. Stepping back for a moment. Her pass is tipped into Rice. Will finally get tipped all the way to Davis. Only 5 to work with on the shot clock. Davis, top of the key. Free throw line, left side of the lane. Throws it up and banks it out. No good. And the rebound taken by South Carolina's Boston. In transition to Johnson. Left side layup up. Underhand, and it rattles in. 30-23. Carolina back in front by 7. 3:33 left to go in this second quarter. McQueen dribbling at the Georgia border. Now kicks it out in the right wing, Davis. Davis at first thought about a 3, drove in for a moment, backs up to the perimeter, now passes to Barber. Barber at the top of the key with 12 on the shot clock to Davis. Davis to the free throw line. Davis trying to drive in left side, kicks it out to Barker. Now McQueen, head fake by her, 2 on the shot clock. McQueen hoisted up, and it's blocked by me here. Shot clock violation against the Crimson Tide. 3:06 left to go before halftime. Alabama trailing 30-23. Crimson Tide will bring in Carly Weathers as well as Ryan Cobbins as Barker goes out along with McQueen. Gamecocks, meanwhile, will make a substitution as well as Bree Beal will check in, replacing Bree Hall. Ami here set for the inbounds pass. On one bounce, quickly into Johnson. Johnson, who dribbles right next to the Carolina bench, gets instruction from the coaching staff and now goes to work. Johnson in between the rings. Couple steps to the left side. Tried to go to Ami here. She wasn't ready for the pass. Miscommunication for the Gamecocks and a rare turnover in this game overall. That's only the 3rd turnover on South Carolina. Alabama's also committed just 3 turnovers so far. It's for the most part been clean basketball. Barber over the timeline. Right front court. Barber, a bounce pass top of the key to Cobbins. Cobbins driving down the right side of the lane. Slams on the brakes, works it back to the top of the key to Barber. Barber, a few steps to the left side. Now attacks the paint, bounce pass to Cobbins in the right corner. Cobbins with 10 on the shot clock. Feeling the pressure, goes to Weathers, top of the key. 5 in the shot clock. Weathers behind the back dribble, drives in right side, throws it up, no good. And Boston with the rebound in the Crimson paint. Basketball to South Carolina. Out to Cook, left wing catch and release 3 is short, and the rebound fought for, won by Cobbins in the left front court. Basketball to Alabama. Crimson Tide trailing by 7. It's been a scoring drought of over 2 minutes for the Crimson Tide. Barber was going around the screen, but on that screen, Jada Rice commits a foul on a legal screen. First foul on Jada, 3rd team foul on the Crimson Tide in this second quarter. 2:07 left to go in this second quarter. It's basketball back with South Carolina up by 7. The Crimson Tide again on a now nearly 2.5 minute scoring drought, and also Alabama's missed its last 4 shots from the floor. Basketball, the Gamecocks, Boston. On the top of the key, Johnson out to Cook in the left wing, to Boston left side lane, to Johnson on the right wing. Catch and release 3 is good. 33-23, Carolina with its largest lead of the game at 10 points. And with that, Christy Curry will call a timeout to talk things over for the Crimson Tide with 1:41 left to go before halftime, and also knowing that finding some offense before halftime will be critical to try and keep this game as close as it can be. Right now, again, South Carolina with a 33-23 lead against the Crimson Tide here at home in Tuscaloosa. In Tuscaloosa, South Carolina leads this series 12-8. The Gamecocks have won the last 20 meetings in the series. The last win for Alabama was in 2008 here in Tuscaloosa against South Carolina. That was very early in Don Staley's tenure in Columbia, South Carolina. 6-0 run for the Gamecocks. Last 2:36. Alabama hasn't scored in the last 2 minutes, 49 seconds. Crimson Tide led by Sarah Ashley Barker with 10 points, Brittany Davis with 8. Raven Johnson with 7, but still the top scorer for South Carolina is Aaliyah Boston with 8 points. She's also pulled in 6 rebounds. Out of the 30-second timeout, Ryan Cobbins with the inbounds pass to Hannah Barber. Basketball with the Crimson Tide. Barber on the right wing, drove inside the arc, passes to the top of the key, Davis. Davis at the free throw line, backs up a few steps. Davis guarded by Cook, feeling pressure around the screen. To the top of the key, 10 on the shot clock, to Cobbins, left side. Driving on the baseline, swings it back out to Davis on the left wing, to Barber, top of the key, hand in her face. 4 on the shot clock, Barber drives in, throws up a layup that's no good. Rebound on the right block by Boston. Basketball to Carolina, working on a 10-point lead. Alabama now missing its last 5 shots from the floor. Johnson taking her time. 1 minute left to go in the second quarter. Johnson to Beal. Outside the left elbow to Johnson right wing. So Saxton right block. Back to an open Johnson. Then to Cook on the right wing. Gets past Barber. Right baseline jumper. Clangs off the heel, no good. And a foul called away from the ball against South Carolina. And that'll go against Victoria Saxton. First foul on her. Third team foul against the Gamecocks in the second quarter. Basketball with Alabama with 48 seconds left to go before halftime. Trying to snap out of the scoring drought and get back to a single-digit deficit, right now trailing by 10. Barber, bounce past the top of the key, Cobbins, then back to Barber. Barber thought about it, instead goes to Cobbins, and a whistle blown. And a shoe came loose for the Crimson Tide. Brittany Davis lost her right shoe. So the official stop play for a moment. Natasha Kamey now with 16 on the shot clock. 34 seconds left to go in the second quarter. It will be Alabama basketball. The Tide will use this break to sub back in Aaliyah Nye. Good three-point threat coming back in for Alabama, trying to get some offense before halftime. Inbounds pass to Barber. Barber at the top of the key, finding Weathers on the right wing. Weathers starts to drive on the right baseline, feels the pressure, back to Barber. Barber to the free throw line, 5 on the shot clock to Davis. Davis at the top of the key, 3 on the shot clock, uncorks a long three, that's perfect! Brittany Davis buries the triple. Alabama's scoring drought is over. It is 33-26. 12 seconds left. Gamecocks with the ball. Up by 7. And 8 seconds left. Cook in the left front court. 5 seconds. Guarded by Barber. Top of the key. Hoists one up. No good off the iron, and this second quarter has come to a close. Alabama gets a three-pointer it really needed from Brittany Davis, and as the teams head to the locker room in Tuscaloosa, it's a tight contest. South Carolina 33, Alabama 26, the score. Next up, we will have the Toyota halftime report with stats and scores from around the SEC on this Sunday of play. Again, our score here in Tuscaloosa, number 1 South Carolina 33, Alabama 26. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. At Coleman Coliseum, it's a score to report of number 1 South Carolina 33, Alabama 26. And nearly said a good score, but all things considered, Alabama is playing some really good basketball against the unquestioned top team in the country. South Carolina off to a perfect start. Reigning national champions have not missed a beat from a year ago, may even be improved from the team that won it all last spring. Halftime stats are delivered by Assurance Financial in less time than halftime. Could apply for a mortgage at assurancemortgage.com. Crimson Tide again trailing 33-26 at the break. Alabama shooting 31% from the floor so far in this game, 9 of 29. 2 of 6 from three-point land, and then Alabama 6 of 10, 60% at the free throw line. Rebounding battle won by South Carolina, but it's not as lopsided as how the Gamecocks usually have it. South Carolina out-rebounding Alabama at 25-21. To put it in perspective, South Carolina has the top rebounding margin in the SEC, averaging 22 more rebounds than its opponent. Alabama only down 4 on the board so far. Crimson Tide also with 2 assists compared to 4 turnovers, 2 steals, 3 blocks in this game. Carolina shooting 35% from the floor, 12 of 34 in this game, 4 of 10 from beyond the arc, and then 5 of 7 at the free throw line for Carolina. Those 25 rebounds, 6 assists, only 3 turnovers, 1 steal, and 3 blocks for South Carolina. Crimson Tide led by 2 players with double-figure scoring, 11 points by Brittany Davis, 10 points by Sarah Ashley Barker, and then 2 points each by Jada Rice and Aaliyah Nye, 1 point from Loyal McQueen. Hannah Barber so far has not scored, has been 0 of 2 from the floor, and that includes missing on a 3-pointer. Meanwhile, for the Gamecocks, pretty balanced scoring across the board, led by Aaliyah Boston. Looks well on her way to another double-double with 8 points, 7 rebounds, 7 points from Raven Johnson off the bench, 6 points by Zaya Cook, and 5 points from Bree Hall. No one else with more than 3 points for the Gamecocks. Again, the lead has been with South Carolina the majority of this game. There have been 4 ties in this contest. Alabama hasn't led to this point, but the Gamecocks have led for 15 minutes, 15 seconds. But the Crimson Tide, again, hanging tough with the nation's top team, only trailing 33-26 at halftime in Tuscaloosa. We'll step aside and check some other scores from around the SEC coming up in just a moment. Again, the score here, South Carolina 33, Alabama 26 at halftime. You're listening to the Toyota Halftime Report, and this is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. In Tuscaloosa, it is the Crimson Tide hanging tough with number 1 South Carolina. 33-26 is the score here at Coleman Coliseum. It's time to take a look at our latest scoreboard update that's presented by Alabama Power. Latest scores from the SEC and around the nation. Presented by Alabama Power, proud to support the Crimson Tide. Again, Alabama hosting the nation's number 1 ranked team. South Carolina, and it's going to be a busy slate of action today around the SEC. Coming up later this afternoon, it'll be Missouri at Kentucky, Ole Miss at Arkansas, and then, of course, it'll be Mississippi State against Georgia as well. Tomorrow there will be two games. It'll be Florida at Auburn and then Tennessee at LSU. So that will be coming up as part of a really busy stretch of women's basketball. Worth noting as well, Alabama will not be playing next Thursday. That'll be the next open date for the Crimson Tide, but we will be seeing Alabama return to action next week at Missouri. Crimson Tide had a narrow loss to Mizzou back on January 5th. It'll be Alabama against Mizzou. That'll be our next broadcast coming up at 4 p.m. next Sunday from Columbia, Missouri. Right now, the visitors from Columbia, South Carolina in front, 33-26 at halftime against Alabama. We will step aside and come back with more of the Toyota Halftime Report next. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. South Carolina back on the floor with the Gamecocks leading 33-26 over Alabama here at halftime. What to expect in the second half is presented by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Zero sugar and refreshingly delicious. Is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Find out for yourself. Well, expect the Crimson Tide to try and attempt some more three-pointers. Alabama's just attempted 6 so far in this game. Alabama averages 8.9 makes per game. That is most in the SEC. And Freddie Davis had a big three a moment ago for the Crimson Tide to help make it a 7-point game at halftime. But other than that, we haven't seen Alabama even attempt that many three-pointers. So that would certainly be good for Alabama coming up in the second half. And then again, just really empty the bucket. Otherwise, Alabama just needs to play with all-out effort, all-out grit in order to try and do something that no team so far has done this season. Only happened twice last year, and that's defeat Don Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks. This is, again, one of the teams that is expected to contend for the national championship this season. Right now, South Carolina and LSU, as well as Tennessee, off to 8-0 starts in league play. And there are a lot of eyeballs, especially from Baton Rouge and Knoxville, on this score at halftime. And interesting to see what the response can be for the Crimson Tide in the second half, only trailing by 7 at the break, with South Carolina in front by a 33-26 score. So that's what to expect in the second half, presented by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, and that will do it for the Toyota Halftime Report. You can visit your local Toyota dealers now and go to Toyota.com now. Take advantage of the amazing deals on our full line of vehicles. No matter your destination, Toyota goes with you. Toyota, let's go places. Next up is the third quarter of action. Again, the score, number 1 South Carolina 33, Alabama 26. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Crimson Tide down at the break, 33-26 to top-ranked South Carolina. Before we start this third quarter of play, why don't we pause for 10 seconds for station identification. That's 10 seconds for a station ID. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Welcome back to Coleman Coliseum on the campus of the University of Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. Roger Hoover with you courtside. Our game being produced back in our Learfield studios by Cameron Staley and Jerry Kelly. Ethan Carabin is alongside. He is producing our video stream. Hope everyone is having a good time watching on Twitter and YouTube as well. You can do that tomorrow for Hey Coach, starting at 6 o'clock, presented by Alpha Insurance. Coming up, Tom Howard's Victory Grill. We'll be talking gymnastics and men's basketball on Hey Coach tomorrow. More on that coming up. Right now, it's time to start this third quarter. Alabama down 7 against the nation's top team, South Carolina. Gamecocks will have the ball to start the third quarter of play. South Carolina in the road black jerseys with white numerals on the front and back, trimmed in garnet. Alabama in the home white jerseys with crimson numerals on the front and back, and Alabama written across the front in crimson. Gamecocks undefeated this season, 20-0, 8-0 in the SEC. Outscoring their opponents by an average of 37 points per game, yet Alabama's only down 7 at the break. Time to start the third quarter. Fletcher with the basketball for South Carolina. To Boston, free throw line contested jumper is good. A good start for the Gamecocks out and the halftime break to make it 35-26. Basketball with the Crimson Tide with Barber over the timeline. Here's to the right wing, passes top of the key to Nye. Nye finds Barker, couple steps to the left side. Barker. Dribble to the right, now passes on the right wing, Nye. Catch release, three is good. Aaliyah Nye with a three-pointer. Alabama needed. Crimson Tide now trailing 35-29. Good to see that right out of the gate for the Crimson Tide. First offensive possession results in a three-pointer. Basketball with Beal on the right wing, top of the key to Fletcher. Out on the left wing to Cook, swings it all the way over to Beal. Catch and release three from the right corner, swirls off the iron, no good. And the rebound picked up under the basket by Alabama's Brittany Davis. Davis over the timeline right. Davis hurries down the left side lane, has her shot blocked out of play by Boston, but with that, ball goes over the baseline and stays with Alabama. Last touch, of course, by Boston. Crimson Tide ball, 8:58 left to go in this third quarter. Inbounds pass from Barber, looking left baseline, triggers it into Davis on the left side. Davis, quick handoff to Barber. Barber at the top of the key, despite feeling contact, works it out to Barker on the right wing. Barker nearly mishandled the low pass, gets it back. Barker started to move inside, and the ball tipped out of play by Fletcher. Over the baseline right, and the basketball once again with the Crimson Tide. 9 seconds left on the shot clock. 8:45 left to go in the third quarter. Alabama ball trailing 35-29. Barber, right baseline, triggers it in left side lane to Rice. It was also Saxton tipping the ball up and out of play. Last touch by Saxton, so the ball will stay with Alabama. Now on the left sideline, Crimson Tide will inbound the ball with Brittany Davis. 7 on the shot clock. Davis quickly into Barker, spinning around left side lane, finding Rice. Free throw line jumper, good. Mid-range game from Jada Rice. Alabama now trailing just by 4. 4 points, 35-31 with 8.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Saxton top of the key. Hand off to Cook. Cook to Fletcher on the left wing. To Saxton, left baseline. Pull-up jumper is good. 37-31. More mid-range game being shown off in this building between Alabama and South Carolina. Tide ball down by 6. Top of the key. Barker. Barker swivels inside the right side lane, going to the rim against Boston. Reverse layup, left side good. Sarah Ashley Barker. Alabama's once again made it a 4-point game. 8 minutes to go in this third quarter. Gamecock ball up 37-33. Carolina with Beal going down low to the right block, and a foul is going to be called as Nye and Fletcher away from the ball kind of lost their balance for a moment and were able to help each other up. Thought maybe could be a fight brewing for just a moment, but no, just both were very out of balance. Both needed somebody to lean on. Basketball will be with South Carolina after all that contact underneath. It will be a foul on Nye. That is very notable. That is her 4th foul of the game, and it comes to 7:54 to go in the third. Inbounds pass goes out of play on that right side. Bree Beal was the intended target, And that goes out of play to the Gamecock bench, right close to where Don Staley is sitting, again wearing a black suit, but over a green Philadelphia Eagles jersey. It took me a moment to realize what number she's wearing. She's wearing a Jalen Hurts jersey. Former Alabama quarterback Jalen Hurts. Good to see that from Don Staley. Pass goes down low to Rice. She's got it from Barker. Tried to reverse and go from the right side to the left side, but stepped on the white baseline out of play. Alabama graduate. Let's see, SEC champion, national champion. Jalen Hurts, we're rooting for him today against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. And Don Staley, huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, wearing the jersey here in Tuscaloosa. Basketball, working around the perimeter, Carolina. Now the top of the right wing, a three-pointer up, short by Fletcher. Rebound tip back to Beal, driving in right side. Her put back no good. Boston had the rebound for a moment before a foul is called, and that will go against Alabama. And on Brittany Davis, her first foul. Second team foul against Alabama in this third quarter. 37-33, Gamecock ball up 4. Inbounds pass, thrown into Beal. Beal driving in from the left baseline. Her shot blocked by Rice. Loose on the floor in the left corner, picked up by Beal. Beal recycles top of the key to Boston. 10 on the shot clock for Carolina, only up by 4. Top of the key, Cook hoists up a 3. That's no good. Rebound by Rice. Here comes Alabama. Basketball, the Tide trailing by 4. Barber on the left wing. Rolls the ball to Davis, still loose on the floor. Carolina fighting in for it. A timeout will be called by South Carolina just as Alabama was trying to tie it up, make sure a jump ball could be called. 6:56 left to go to third quarter. That'll take us to a timeout on the floor thanks to the first called timeout in this third quarter. It's a score of South Carolina 37, Alabama 33. Back with more in a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Left to go in the third quarter. It's Alabama trailing South Carolina 37-33. Reminder, you can keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app presented by Cadence Bank. Download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app now for free at the App Store and also on Google Play. Alabama outscoring South Carolina so far in this third quarter 7-4. We've seen some really good things from Alabama. We've seen some really good defense. Gamecocks have missed their last 4 shots from the floor, so this has been excellent work from Alabama, really both sides of the floor. Some shots have gone in for the Tide. Alabama 3 of 4 from the floor. Aaliyah Nye hit a big three-pointer for Alabama to start the scoring in this quarter, but Aaliyah Nye also picked up her 4th foul. So right now, despite the hot hand shooting, she's going to have to sit for a long time on the bench with that foul, and hopefully can come back in at a really impactful moment for the Crimson Tide coming up. But the Crimson Tide trailing again by a score of 37-33 against South Carolina. Crimson Tide trying to not only defeat the nation's #1 team, but also get a first win against the Gamecocks in this series since 2008. It's been a long time for the Crimson Tide to win against one of the dominant programs of the past decade, South Carolina. Gamecock ball out of timeout. Victoria Saxton inbounds the ball to Fletcher. We're back underway. Saxton to Beal, back to Fletcher on the right wing. Fletcher to the free throw line, Boston. Boston out to Beal, back to Boston. Free throw line, contested jumper is good. Good spot on the floor for Leah Boston. She continues strong scoring. She's got 12 of Carolina's 39 points. Gamecocks up 6, Crimson Tide of the ball. 6.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Barker at the top of the key. Barker finding Barber. Back to Barker, driving down the right side lane. Barker works it back to Barber, top of the key. Thought about a long three, instead drives in, kicks it out to Barker. Contested three, right side, too strong, and the rebound by Beal on the left side of the lane. Beal, through transition for the Gamecocks, working with a 6-point lead. Beal driving right side, throws it up off the window, and is out no good, but a foul called fighting for the rebound, likely on Alabama. And that's on Carly Weathers, freshman. Picking up her first. Freshman playing against South Carolina, having to guard the two-time National Player of the Year many times. Aaliyah Boston. Inbounds pass comes in. The top of the key to Boston. Then to Fletcher. To Beal on the right wing. To Fletcher. Back on the left wing to an open Hall. Steps inside the arc. Dribbles to the right. Passes top of the key. Inside the arc along two up. No good by Fletcher. And the rebound pulled in by Barker in the Crimson Paint. Basketball to Alabama. Barker driving. Throws it up. Her shot blocked. Emphatically out of play by Aaliyah Boston. Barker fell to the deck, helped out, pulled up by her teammate Jada Rice. It will still be tied ball with 24 seconds left, and that was a powerful right-hand rejection by Aaliyah Boston. Saxton goes out. Carolina brings in Sanaya Fagan for the first time in this game. Right baseline, Alabama ball. Barber trying to trigger the inbounds pass in. Needs some help, finds it on a bounce with Weathers for a moment, then gets loose, and then out of play on the baseline. A turnover on the baseline out of bounds play by Alabama. With that, Gamecock ball, Alabama will sub in for the first time in the second half, Loyal McQueen. Loyal in the first half picked up a point at the free throw line, but was 0 for 5 shooting from the floor. Barber goes out, and McQueen is in. Inbounds pass thrown in from Fagan, right to Fletcher. Works over the timeline right, veers to the right wing. Passes to Beal in between the rings, back to Fletcher on the right wing. Fletcher looks low, passes high to Beal, around the left wing to Hall. Gamecocks up 6 with the ball with 5.5 minutes to go in this third quarter. Hall, left wing three is good. 9-point South Carolina lead at 42-33. Alabama needing a response with 5:20 to go in the third quarter, down 9. Nearly the largest lead Carolina's had, only a 10-point lead. That was in the second quarter. Weathers on the left wing, starts to drive inside to the right block. Retreated back to McQueen on the right wing. McQueen driving in, spinning around to the left side, throws up her shot. That is no good, but she'll go to the free throw line, drawing the foul against South Carolina. It's on Kara Fletcher, her second foul. First team foul against Carolina in the second half. Crimson Tide will have Loyal McQueen at the free throw line, win 1 of 2 at the line earlier in the game. Alabama just 6 of 10 at the line overall this contest. Ryan Cobbins comes in to replace Brittany Davis. 5:01 left to go in this third quarter. Lefty McQueen, first one, good. Best sound there is. 42-34. Let's see if we can hear that sound again from McQueen. Yes, don't you like that? Basketball going right back to the Gamecocks after McQueen goes 2 for 2 in the line. 42-35, Alabama down 7 to South Carolina. Next dead ball will be immediate timeout. Gamecocks working with the basketball with Fletcher. Angling to the left side, back top of the key to Hall. Hall dribbles to the right wing. Hall to Boston, right side of the lane. Quickly gets rid of it to Fletcher, then to Beal left side. Beal back on the right wing to Hall. Hall back to Boston. Spins around the paint, right block, puts it up, puts it in. Boston makes it 44-35. Back to a 9-point lead for South Carolina with 4:30 left to go in this third quarter. McQueen. Hand off to Barker. Barker at the top of the key, nearly the ball loose. Barker recovers, right side of the lane, still out of control of the ball, and the ball will be out of play. Last touch by South Carolina, and that'll give it back to the Tide when we come back from a timeout on the floor. 4:17 still to go in this third quarter. It's South Carolina separating for just a bit against Alabama. No field goals in the last nearly 4 minutes for the Crimson Tide. And the score, South Carolina 44, Alabama 35. Alabama 35. Coming up tomorrow, make sure you listen or watch online Hey Coach from Baumhower's Victory Grill. It's each Monday night at 6 p.m. on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We'll be joined first tomorrow by Ashley Johnston, the gymnastics head coach. Then we'll be joined by men's basketball head coach Nate Oates to talk Crimson Tide hoops, preview what's coming up on Tuesday against Vanderbilt. Hey Coach is presented by Alpha Insurance. Look forward to Hey Coach coming up, of course, tomorrow night at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Hopefully talking about a Crimson Tide win in this game, but Alabama needs to find some offense. Crimson Tide, no field goals in the last 3 minutes, 49 seconds, so some work to be done offensively by the Crimson Tide. The defense has been there for Alabama. Gamecocks 44 points, but so far that's kind of a far cry from what we normally see South Carolina do and really take teams, even some teams at the top of the SEC, out of it early. That has not really happened today. Chrissy Curry's team hanging tough with South Carolina. Of course, LSU was able to build up a lopsided lead against the Crimson Tide on Monday, but this has been a very good showing by the Crimson Tide in this ballgame today against South Carolina. Basketball with Alabama. 14 will be left on the shot clock. 4:17 left to go in the third quarter. It's Alabama with the ball down by 9. Again, really needing an offensive response to what we've seen lately. Carolina outscoring Alabama 11-9 in this third quarter. Inbounds pass thrown into Rice. Rice felt the pressure and a foul called against South Carolina. Foul will be called against Fletcher. That'll be her third. Only the second team foul. Both fouls in this third quarter have been against Fletcher for South Carolina. Shot clock reset to 20. Alabama with the ball with McQueen, right sideline. Inbounds to Cobbins. Quick handoff to McQueen. McQueen with the left-handed dribble, driving down the left side. Floater up, no good. And the rebound picked up by Fletcher, right block. Basketball to Carolina. Fletcher out to Hall. Hall to Fletcher, top of the key. Fletcher back to Beal. Beal to Hall in the left wing. Guarded by Weathers. A pass in between the rings to Fletcher to Beal on the right wing. Now to Boston, triple teamed really away from the basket. Passes top of the key to Hall. Contested three is up, no good. Good contest by Weathers. The rebound left side lane by Fagan. Fagan to Boston from right to left, and a left side layup good. Leah Boston hard to stop. She's made it an 11-point lead for South Carolina, the largest for the Gamecocks today. 46-35. Basketball back with Alabama, needing some offense. McQueen on the left side, spinning back to the top of the key. Now a couple steps to the left side. Now back at the top of the key. Passes to Cobbins. Shot clock down to 10. Rice with a back turn to the basket at the free throw line. Hands up to Cobbins. Cobbins to Weathers. Left wing three on the way. Short. And the rebound taken by Fletcher at the free throw line. And the basketball to South Carolina. Fletcher with the Gamecocks up 11 to Boston free throw line. Hall on the left wing to the top of the key. Beal. 3 minutes to go in this third quarter. Hall. Left wing. Top of the key Beal. Fletcher on the right wing, 10 on the shot clock. Gamecock ball up 11. Fletcher to Hall. Hall on the left wing, 5 of the shot clock. Driving against Barker. Right side layup thrown up, off the iron, no good. Barker tapping the rebound, but it goes back to Boston. Her putback, no good. Ball touched out of play, and a foul is going to be called. This is the ball went out of play, and this will go the other way. This will go against South Carolina and against Sanaya Fagan. That'll be her first foul, third team foul against South Carolina in this third quarter. 2:37 left to go in the third quarter. South Carolina up 46-35 over Alabama. Crimson Tide in the midst of a 2-minute, 26-second scoring drought. Alabama has been 0 of its last 4 shooting from the floor. Inbounds pass to Loyal McQueen from Sarah Ashley Barker. McQueen over the timeline. A bounce pass to Barker, top of the key. Barker kicks it out. Left corner. Here's Nye with a three. That's off the iron, no good. Beal the rebound in the Crimson paint. Basketball to Carolina. Nye playing with 4 fouls. Here's the quick pass to the left block, and a left side layup good by Hall. Now 48-35. Gamecocks extending the 6-0 run. And with that, Alabama will call a timeout. Crimson Tide needing to talk things over with now South Carolina up by 13. And it's just been a tough stretch offensively for the Crimson Tide. Again, defensively doing enough to stay in this ballgame, but the Crimson Tide 0 of its last 5 from the floor. It's been a 2-minute, 45-second scoring drought for Alabama, and just not a lot happening on some of these possessions for the Crimson Tide in terms of ball movement or shots going in. Crimson Tide trailing 48-35 to South Carolina. Tide return to the floor with McQueen, Barker, Rice, Nye, and Davis. Gamecocks with Johnson, Hall, Boston, Beal, and Fagan. It will be Crimson Tide ball, needing to go the length of the floor. Sarah Ashley Barker standing on the M in Alabama. On the baseline, inbounds the ball to McQueen in the backcourt. Picked up on defense by Johnson. That'll subside as McQueen works over the timeline right. Loyal McQueen. They whistle blown. A foul's going to be called against South Carolina and against Fagan. Too much contact guarding Aaliyah Nye. Second foul on Fagan. Fourth team foul on the Gamecocks. 2:08 left to go in this third quarter. Alabama trailing 48-35. Basketball at the Crimson Tide. Barker, bounce pass to Davis. Right wing three on the way. Off the back iron, no good. And the rebound left block by Aaliyah Boston. Basketball back with the Gamecocks. Johnson weaving through traffic. Works it all the way to the left corner. Now to Boston. Boston just inside the arc. Recycles to Johnson. Johnson calms things down, dribbling over Script A and Crimson at mid-floor. Shuffles a few steps to the right front court. Now to the right wing. Works it all the way back in the left corner to nobody. It was Fagan who had cut in. Johnson was expecting her to stay on the left wing. Turnover on South Carolina. Minute 43 left to go in this third quarter. South Carolina 48, Alabama 35. Crimson Tide ball needing a basket. Gamecocks in the midst of a 6-0 run. Top of the key, Nye. Quick handoff to McQueen. McQueen fighting through pressure. Back to Nye. Top of the key. Catch and release three. Switch. Aaliyah Nye with the three-pointer. Alabama trailing now 48-38 with a minute 20 to go in this third quarter. Maybe that'll get the offense going for Alabama. Basketball going back to the Gamecocks. Top of the key, Johnson. Johnson to Beal on the right wing. Beal to Boston inside the arc, right side, around to Hall, around the perimeter to Johnson, left corner. 10 on the shot clock to Hall. Beal left open, right corner three. Off the iron, no good. Rebound, Jada Rice in the Crimson paint. Feeling the pressure from Boston, has to hand it off to McQueen. McQueen over the timeline. Alabama down 10. McQueen driving, left side layup up, no good. And the basketball going back to Carolina. McQueen was hoping a foul would be called against Carolina, but no whistle. Basketball tipped, stole away by Nye on a pass from Beal right to Barker, but then Hall with the steal right away from Barker in transition. Carolina will calm things down. There is a 6-second difference in between the game clock and the shot clock. This third quarter winds down. Both sides with some tough offensive stretches at times in a low-scoring quarter. Fagan inside the free throw line, jumper no good. Fight for the rebound, tipped out of play. Last touch by Boston. Basketball back to Alabama. Crimson Tide will sub in Hannah Barber to replace Loyal McQueen. Tide will have 10.9 seconds to work with. Try and cut into what's a 10-point deficit. Alabama was down 7 at halftime. Inbounds pass to a running Barber. Barber to the right wing. 5 on the clock to Barker at the top of the key. Bounce pass there to Nye, then to Davis, left wing. Shakes free here, defender inside the arc. Long jumper is up, in and out, no good, and that'll close out the third quarter of play. But Alabama found a little bit of offense with a 9-3 before the third quarter came to a close. And as we go to the fourth quarter, it's only a 10-point game. Number 1 South Carolina 48 and Alabama 38 to score in Tuscaloosa. Fourth quarter coming up next. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. And a 10-point game we have in Tuscaloosa. South Carolina 48 and Alabama 38 is the score from Coleman Coliseum. Crimson Tide, again, hoping to pick up a victory against South Carolina. We've got to say a special thank you to Alabama One Credit Union, a proud supporter of Crimson Tide women's athletics. We appreciate so many women's athletics teams being here on campus today, cheering on the Crimson Tide against #1 ranked South Carolina. Alabama hanging tough with the Gamecocks. South Carolina, so far in SEC play, mostly lopsided scores. Mississippi State, that became a very tight ball game. The Gamecocks won on January 8th, 58-51, but everything else really hasn't been close. 95-66 in Kentucky, 81-50 against Mizzou. Vanderbilt 96-48 at Memorial Gym. And then last time out, just thoroughly dominated Arkansas 92-46, and again out-rebounded the Hogs by an eye-popping number, 74-17. But today, Alabama hanging tough. Crimson Tide only out-rebounded by 7 so far in this game, and just down by 10, and Alabama still has not really got it going from three-point land just yet. 4 of 12 from beyond the arc, but you know the Tide are going to need some three-pointers coming up down the stretch in this game against South Carolina, especially trying to eat into what is a 10-point deficit. Crimson Tide ball to start the fourth quarter. Barker into Cunningham, and the basketball with the Tide with Barker over the timeline. Barker around the screen, cuts into the paint, swings it back out to Barber. A right corner three, bottom. Hannah from Homewood with a three-pointer, and it's Alabama trailing by 7, 48-41. 9:40 left to go in this game. Great play called up by the Crimson Tide to start the fourth quarter. 48-41, Gamecock ball. Hall at the top of the key. Hall in between the rings to Cook, then to Johnson. Johnson's pass goes right to Cardozo. Her left side layup no good. Cardozo got it back, but then a whistle blown, and a foul called against Alabama. And that's on Nye. No, it's on Brittany Davis. So Nye reacted as if it had been called on her. Well, had a stunned look on her face, but luckily it's on Davis because Nye is playing with 4 fouls. 3 in the first half, picked up her 4th early in the third quarter, and bounce pass to Ami here to an open Hall left block, and she banks in her shot to make it 50-41 at Carolina. Crimson Tide ball down by 9 with 9:17 to go, and an inbounds pass stolen from Barker to Barber. Quick steal by Johnson. Ami here nearly lost to the right side of the lane, goes back up, and the ball loose, out of play. Last touch by Alabama. Crimson Tide have got to be careful. Just made it a 7-point game, now down by 9. Gamecocks have the ball. Cunningham out. Jada Rice back in for Alabama. Now Cardozo, the inbounds pass to Ami here. Then to Hall. Hall back in between the rings to Johnson. Johnson, couple steps to the left wing. Passes at the free throw line. Ami here cuts into the paint, throws up a shot. No good, but a foul's going to be called against Alabama. And that will be on Jada Rice. Second foul on Jada, second team foul on the Crimson Tide, the fourth quarter. Will be a shooting foul, so Letitia Ami here to the free throw line, a 74% free throw shooter. This will be her first trip today. Gamecocks 5 of 7 so far at the line. Ami here lining up her first. No good. Second one on the way. No good, and the rebound picked up by Brittany Davis. I think the member of the $1 Million Band showing his mellophone really is what got her off concentration. Here's the basketball with Barker driving on the right side. Barker works it back to Rice. Rice spinning around left block, throws up a shot too strong, fight for the rebound, tipped out of play. Last touch by Alabama. There's a guy right as she was getting ready for that second shot, threw up his silver mellophone and said, "This is a mellophone." I don't know. It took her out of her rhythm, concentration. She went over to at the line. The band kids. Basketball back with the Gamecocks. Working around the timeline to Hall on the right wing, to Ami here. Out in the left corner to Cook. Cook has been pretty quiet in this second half, especially working all the way back to Hall. Now top of the key, Johnson with a 3. Clangs off the heel, no good. And the rebound collected by South Carolina with Hall on the right side. 8:05 and counting left to go in this game. 50-41 the score. Johnson Passes in between the rings to Cook. Cook to Hall. Right wing contested three is good. Barker had a good contest, but still the shot falls from Hall to make it 53-41. Alabama with the ball, now trailing by 12. After the Tide went down 9, down by as close to 7 in this fourth quarter. 7:40 left to go. Nye on the right wing. Feels the pressure. Couple steps to the right side to Davis. Davis to the top of the key. Thought about handing off to Barber. Instead, Davis gives to Barber in between the rings, 10 on the shot clock. Barber at the top of the key. Tried to go around the screen by Rice. Now passes to Rice in the paint. Rice has it, right block, throws up a layup too strong. Cardozo the rebound left side. Basketball to South Carolina up 12. Gamecocks with Hall to Johnson top of the key. Now to Cook on the left wing to Cardozo left block. Around the perimeter it goes to Hall right corner. Her three-pointer off the back iron, no good. A rebound in transition by Sarah Ashley Barker. Basketball to the Crimson Tide. Barker, after attacking the right side, passes top of the key to Nye. Nye attacks down the left side lane. Tried for a pass to Rice that was stolen by a knee here. Still loose on the floor, though. Nye gets it back to Barber. Loads up a three-pointer. Short. And the rebound is picked up in transition by Hall, who calms everything down for South Carolina. Basketball with the Gamecocks. Everybody was a little out of sorts after that sequence. Now with 6.5 minutes to go, Gamecock ball up 12. Cook to a Meeher left baseline to the left side of the lane, spins away, hook shot, good. A little teardrop just in the paint, made it 55-41. Tide trailing by 14. Hannah Barber over the timeline. Angles to the right side, handoff to Davis. Davis to the free throw line. Davis to Barker. Barker driving on the left baseline to the rim. Throws up a shot, no good, but at least draws the foul. Free throws coming up for Sarah Ashley. Cardozo called for the foul. That'll be her second. And the team's first here in the fourth quarter, 6:03. And it will be Barker to the free throw line. So the foul will be called against a Meeher. That'll be her second. Here's Barker to the line. Gamecocks in the midst of a 7-0 run. First one, in and out, no good. We'll put Barker in the line for number 2. Lines it up. Off the back iron, no good on the rebound. Picked up by Hall. Basketball to Carolina, leading by 14, and South Carolina with its largest lead of the game right now. Just under 6 minutes to go. Gamecocks trying to stay unbeaten on the season. Keep up with LSU and Tennessee in what's been a good SEC race so far. Those three schools all undefeated. Cardozo spins around right block and banks in her jumper to make it 57-41. Basketball, the Crimson Tide now trailing by 16 with 5:35 left to go. Davis to Barker. Barker against a Meeher at the top of the key. Barker swings it back top of the key to Davis. Couple of head fakes. Davis feels the pressure, tries to work it back in, and too many steps. Traveled, and that turnover will give the ball to South Carolina. 5:18 still to go. Gamecocks 57, Crimson Tide 41. Barker heads out, and Ryan Cobbins back in for Alabama. Johnson over the timeline. South Carolina ball up by 16. Johnson works all the way to Cook. Left wing, a three. Off the back iron, no good. Nye with a rebound at the free throw line, and the basketball to Alabama. Nye over the timeline, through the middle, now at the top of the key. Nye passing on the right wing to Davis. Davis at the top of the key. Free throw line jumper. Got it. Brittany Davis with a good response for Alabama. She's got 13 points, and it's 57-43. Tide trailing with 4:37 and counting to go in this game. Next dead ball will be immediate timeout. Gamecocks with Johnson on the left wing, passing top of the key to Cook. Cook to Hall, top of the key. Hall to Johnson, left side to the right block, and spinning in a layup good for South Carolina, Letitia Meeher. That makes it 59-43. Basketball back with Alabama. Davis contested three, right side no good. Cardozo the rebound. Basketball to South Carolina. 59-43 Gamecocks. here throws up a shot, but an offensive foul called. Taking the charge, Brittany Davis, and that'll take us to a timeout on the floor. Final break today, 4:07 to go in this fourth quarter. It's number 1, South Carolina 59, Alabama 43. Back for the rest of this game in a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfields. South Carolina 59 and Alabama 43. Stay with us after this game is over. You can catch the Regions post-game show with head coach Christy Curry, the final stats and more. Plus, get your Alabama Visa check card from Regions. Visit regions.com/GoBama to order yours today. Rudon, Jalen Hurts, and Vontae Smith, Philadelphia Eagles. NFC Championship game against the 49ers coming up. Certainly look forward to the rest of the football action. AFC Championship game after that, Bengals and the Chiefs. And tomorrow, we'll have Hey Coach coming your way at 6 o'clock across the network. Men's basketball back in action on Tuesday against Vanderbilt, so we look forward to that as well. And then women's team will not play on Thursday night. Crimson Tide will get another open date, and then it's some time on the road for Alabama women's basketball. Crimson Tide next will be at Missouri on Sunday, a week from today. That'll be the next game at 4 p.m. Then at Kentucky the Thursday after that. Then back-to-back home games on Super Bowl Sunday, February 12th against Auburn. Vanderbilt a few days later on Thursday the 16th. And then after that, road trips to Starkville and Florida, Mississippi State and then Florida. Then home finale, senior day against Ole Miss on February 26th. So again, only 3 more chances to see this women's basketball team in person here at Coleman Coliseum, and really, we hope that's it. We hope Alabama will not be hosting any women's NIT games this year because this team is building up a very good resume trying to advance to the NCAA tournament. And even though today Crimson Tide may end up on the losing end of this matchup against the #1 ranked team in the country, I mentioned some of the scores earlier Carolina's had in SEC play. This is about as respectable of score as you can see against the Gamecocks so far in SEC play this year. Alabama executed a lot of things well in the game plan, trailed by 7 at halftime, and have really given the Gamecocks a fight on the offensive end, slowing down Carolina's offense. 3:50 left to go in this game. McQueen at the top of the key nearly lost the handle. Now at the free throw line, recovers, drives in, spins in, a left side layup. Loyal McQueen. 3:44 left to go in this fourth quarter. Alabama now trailing 59-45. Basketball back to the Gamecocks. Staying in the front court, right to left, Hall. Now the top of the key, Boston. Boston out to Johnson. Johnson on the right wing, right side of the lane, feeling the pressure. And Boston lost control of it, stolen by Barker, right to Nye. Nye to Davis to McQueen, left side, driving in, throws it up, banks it in. It's Loyal McQueen again, 4 points in a flash. And Alabama's now trailing 59-47. Basketball back to the Gamecocks. Hall in between the rings to Johnson, to Boston. Now Hall in the left corner, back to the top of the key to Cardozo, and a whistle blown, a foul called away from the ball. And that will go against Crimson Tide and against Jada Rice. Third foul on Jada, third team foul against Alabama in the fourth quarter. 59-47, Alabama trailing by 12 with 2:56 to go against the nation's top-ranked team. Inbounds pass. Thrown to the top of the key. Beal recovers. Boston, left side of the lane. Back to Beal in between the rings at the Georgia border. Backing it up is Johnson. Johnson to Hall, to Boston, top of the key. Boston steps to the free throw line, feels the pressure, kicks it back out. Here comes a three-pointer by Hall, left side, no good. Here's McQueen. Here's a chance for Alabama, down 12, 2.5 minutes to go. Davis, left wing, drives in the baseline, felt the pressure into the basket, and is fouled by Cardozo. Hard fall for Davis, quickly held back to her feet by her teammates. Second foul on Cardozo. Third team foul against the Gamecocks. Not a shooting foul. Alabama will have the ball on the left baseline with Loyal McQueen. McQueen inbounds on the left baseline to Rice. Rice pulled away from the basket, hands off to McQueen. Crimson Tide down 12. McQueen, free throw line, tried to go to Rice left side lane, but it's intercepted by Johnson. Johnson with the steal for the Gamecocks. Carolina ball up 12 with 2:15 to go. Hall, left corner, was left alone for a moment. Now back in between the rings to Beal. Now to Hall. Hall has her pass intended for Cardozo. She finally has it, gives to Boston. Boston spins around, throws up a shot that is good. However, a whistle was blown before the shot went in, and it appears a foul against Alabama. And that will be against Aaliyah Nye. That will be her fifth, but she played a lot of minutes in this fourth quarter with 4 fouls. Really impressive work by Aaliyah. So Nye will head out. Carly Weathers will head in for the Crimson Tide. And here comes Aaliyah Nye back to the Alabama bench. And now the Crimson Tide will also get to talk things over as they will take a look at that last foul on the replay monitors, trying to determine what happened between Alabama trying to get it back. Boston eventually putting the shot in to give the Gamecocks a try and give the Gamecocks the lead, but the foul was called before the shot. Next up for South Carolina, the Crimson Tide will be home coming up Thursday against Kentucky, and what'll be a rematch of the SEC tournament final that stunned everybody when Kentucky defeated South Carolina to win the SEC tournament championship and the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And Boston spun around, contact from Nye, whistle blown, Boston put it up and in. Seemed to be pretty straightforward, just maybe seeing if there's anything flagrant. As Nye had hands close to the face, but mostly all basketball action that appeared on the replays we've seen here inside Coleman Coliseum. So a few more looks at the replay monitor for this last call. Crimson Tide trailing 59-47 with still 2:05 left to go in this game. Brian Hall, Natasha Kamey with the headsets on, Eric Koch holding the basketball behind them. Yep, 2 weeks until the Crimson Tide are back at home in this building. Super Bowl Sunday against Auburn, trying to sweep the Auburn Tigers, continue what's been a great long winning streak. I believe 8 wins in a row now for Alabama against Auburn. Decision has come in. Call stands. 2:05 still to play, and Gamecocks will have the ball on the floor. Just under their basket, a couple steps on the right baseline for South Carolina. 2:05 to go. The inbounds pass worked in the top of the key to Hall, quickly back to Johnson. Johnson feeling the pressure. Handoff back from Hall to Johnson, right wing, 10 on the shot clock. Across the court to Beal, now top of the key, Hall, free throw line, Boston. To Beal left corner, top of the key, Hall, a couple steps to the left side. Her three is good. 62-47, South Carolina. That ends an over 2-minute scoring drought for South Carolina. Crimson Tide with 1:33 left to go. McQueen, pressure in the right front court. Passes to Barker. Barker in between the rings. Barker feels the heat. Goes to McQueen, top of the key, and a foul is called on Johnson, who's had close defense all throughout this ball game, and now Johnson will be called for her first foul. Fourth team foul against South Carolina. Only meeting between the schools this season. Possible we could see the Gamecocks again in the SEC or the NCAA tournament. Weathers to inbound the basketball. It comes into Barker. Barker driving in, has her shot blocked by Cardozo, right back to her. Spins around, right elbow, left elbow, bounce pass to Weathers in the left corner. Spins around left baseline. Weathers into the paint against Cardozo, nowhere to go. Passes to Rice. Rice has it, then is blocked by Cardozo. Will be called for a foul. Foul against Camila Cardozo. Third foul. Fifth team foul. Free throws on any foul the rest of the way for the Crimson Tide. Trailing in this game to South Carolina 62-47, but kept this game tight all throughout, even in the fourth quarter down by as close as 7 points. Rice with the first free throw is good. 62-48, Alabama trailing. But the Gamecocks with a minute to go, 20 points below their season average in terms of points per game. Usually average 82 points per game. Right now only 62 as we are in the final minute. Second free throw is good to make it 62-49. Gamecocks with the basketball. Johnson works leisurely to the left side, passes top of the key to Hall. Hall, hand off to Beal right front court. 10 on the shot clock to Cardozo, working inside out, now to Beal, top of the key. Left wing Johnson, Cardozo left side, back to the top of the key with Beal. Beal to Hall on the right wing, 2 on the shot clock. Contested jumper is short, and the rebound by Boston. Boston resets, 20 on the shot clock, dwindling down as there's a 13-second difference in between the game clock and the shot clock. Crimson Tide trailing 62-49, but held South Carolina to 20 points under its season average in scoring. Pass to Boston, worked out to Beal. Here comes a three-pointer that's good. Three-pointer good from the right wing at 65-49. Alabama ball, shot clock turned off, 12 seconds to play. McQueen to the top of the key. McQueen out to Barker, left corner three on the way. Got it! Sarah Ashley Barker gets Alabama to 52. It's 65-52, 4 seconds left. Gamecocks will dribble it out, and that'll close out this game in Tuscaloosa. Today's final score, number 1 South Carolina 65, Alabama 52. A solid defensive effort from the Alabama Crimson Tide against the nation's top team, undisputed top team, South Carolina. It's final score of 65-52. We will step aside and joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Christy Curry, in just a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Crimson Tide fought hard against the nation's top-ranked team. 65-52 is the final score here in Tuscaloosa. We're glad to welcome in the Regions postgame show. Roger Hoover now joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Christy Curry. And I made the point in the broadcast, your team held South Carolina for so long, about 20 points under its season average. What was so good for Alabama's defense today?
I just thought we did a really good job of staying close on the boards and battling. Our kids really stuck with the game plan. A few loose balls here or there, a few more box outs. You know, we gave them too many second chance points. But a tremendous effort by our kids. We're not just happy with playing them close, okay? We expected to win today, but again, this team just continues to show up and battle and do the things we're asking them to do, and I'm really proud of their grit today. Most importantly, I just want to thank this incredible crowd. I know we really promoted and worked hard as a staff, 32-plus teams in here, and we need everybody to continue to come back and support us in the rest of our home games. A great crowd today.
It really was. As we're getting ready for National Girls and Women in Sports
Yep.
Day, we had so many women's teams here. That had to mean a lot to
We
you.
did. We thanked the volleyball team and the swim and dive team. They were in the hallway and really inspired our kids as they ran out. So just a tremendous effort from everyone around the program, from our promotions and marketing and our head coaches, just supporting one another. That's what makes Bama special. It truly is the Bama family.
It really is, and looking at some individuals in this ball game, Sarah Ashley Barker led the way with 15 points, Brittany Davis with 13. What worked well when Alabama was scoring the basketball?
You know, I just thought they were both aggressive. You know, you're not going to get a very big window for an opening, and I thought those kids really took some openings. I felt like we were a little hesitant in the first half. We missed 4 free throws, just a lot of little things. But, you know, at the end of the day, really proud of our entire team for coming out and, you know, battling and not being afraid of a challenge.
You get through a really tough stretch this week, and Alabama hasn't had much time off the
Yeah.
floor. What's it going to be like this week? No game on Thursday, getting ready to go to Missouri on
Well,
Sunday.
I mean, it's important that we recover a little bit. I think we've had, like you said, you know, back-to-back days and 3 games in a week. And not only that, but, you know, the level that we've played at, the intensity, and on the road, at home. And I just think that our kids just need to get their feet under them and take a deep breath. Tomorrow and Thursday, we'll take those 2 days off. We'll stay on our regular routine. So I'm excited for the opportunity to go out, do a little recruiting on these off days. We'll be working and let them recover.
That sounds good. Well, Coach, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Sunday at Mizzou. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
That's Alabama head coach Christy Curry. Her comments always presented by Cook's Pest Control and Centricon, the unbeatable combination for termite protection. Back to wrap up the Regions postgame show in a moment. I do want to remind you that you can get your University of Alabama Regions Visa debit card today by visiting regions.com/GoBama to order yours soon. Again, South Carolina 65, Alabama 52, the final score. Back to wrap things up in a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Moments for the Crimson Tide in this hard-fought game against South Carolina. The number 1 ranked team in the country does win in Tuscaloosa. South Carolina 65, Alabama 52, the final score. Time to take a look at the final game stats presented by Assurance Financial. In less time than halftime, you could apply for a mortgage at AssuranceMortgage.com. Top scorer for the Crimson Tide today, you saw Sarah Ashley Barker with 12 points, and then Brittany Davis with, well, let's see, let's get a more up-to-date box score. How about Sarah Ashley Barker with 15 points, 13 points for Brittany Davis, top 2 in double figures. South Carolina led by Leah Boston, 16 points, 12 rebounds, yet another double-double for South Carolina's Leah Boston, the 2-time reigning National Player of the Year. No one gets closer to college basketball than SiriusXM. You can download the SiriusXM app and take the Crimson Tide with you all season long. Tune into SiriusXM for SEC news, talk, analysis, and more, straight from your phone, no car required. Well, as we talked about with Coach Curry, Alabama will not have a game coming up this Thursday, final open date of the season. Then next Sunday, it'll be the Tide on the road at Missouri. Earlier this season, Missouri picked up a win here in Tuscaloosa, 65-66. So the Tide and the Tigers coming your way next Sunday at 4 p.m. Radio coverage, of course, available here on the network. That's going to do it for the Regions postgame show. If you want the most convenient way to pay in T-Town, get the University of Alabama Regions Visa debit card. Visit regions.com/GoBama to order yours today. The Vice President and General Manager of the Crimson Tide Sports Network is Jim Carabin. We had Ethan Carabin with us courtside producing our video stream. Thank you for watching on Twitter and YouTube. Our game was produced back at our Learfield studios by Cameron Staley under the direction of Jerry Kelly. For everyone with the University of Alabama women's basketball program and the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I'm Roger Hoover saying thank you for listening to Alabama basketball. Once again, today's final score, number 1, South Carolina 65, Alabama 52. From Tuscaloosa, good afternoon and roll Tide.